Okay, let's press on episode 21, Fans Pulse Lap 1. I'll bring the graphic on screen in a second. This is very much a discussion topic that we absolutely had to have this week. We couldn't hold it over to next week because we're going to preview and make some predictions, some bold predictions around the playoffs in the Premiership and the Championship. And for obvious reasons, we don't want any results in the bag before we take on this particular discussion. So here we are, guys, on Monday night in the Premiership at least. The first leg of the semi-final tie between Bellevue and Ipswich took place. And as we have this conversation, that's the only playoff tie that so far has been raced. So let's pick up on the Premiership first of all, and have a bit of a focus on that. So a quick look back, if you don't mind, on Monday night's results. So the Aces in the end grabbed a 6-point advantage to take to Vauxhall later this week. Lawrence, I'm going to bring you in first. You're a self-proclaimed, I believe, Witches fan. Were you quite pleased with the final score on Monday night, Lawrence?
Yeah, definitely. I think most people were very pleased with that. Ipswich side with I think Bellevue were looking for about 12 points to be, pretty comfortable with maybe going through. But I think they'll be happy with that. I mean, they threw away a little bit, sort of in the middle of the meeting, threw a couple of points away here and there, but then they got some back at the end. So it was, I think I'll be happy with that. If Emma was a little bit down on power as well, and so hopefully, they can get it back tomorrow. The only thing is they had a blip last week with Sheffield, didn't they? Sheffield won. That was a surprise there, but it was. I think the Sheffield were just making starts and they're away really. So I don't know who they'd rather face in the final. It's going to be hard. Maybe that was a sort of a reality warning last week with the Sheffield blip, but generally Ipswich this year at home been really good. Fantastic early on. It's, you got that heat 13 and 15 with Emil and Jason, so you've always got that heat you can never bet against. So I think they'll be pleased tomorrow really.
Robbo, I imagine at the end of the night, Mark Lemon would have been the more concerned, I would imagine, of the two team managers. Bellevue, we've touched on it a couple of times already in previous episodes, can or have tended to be a little bit vulnerable. They don't hammer too many teams. Well, I'll take that back. They're perfectly capable of hammering teams at the National Speedway Stadium, but at the same time, they can be quite vulnerable. And Ipswich already had managed to snatch a draw at Bellevue earlier in the season, in the regular league season, and it wasn't a particular surprise, to me at least, that there was only 6 points in it at the end of Monday night.
Yeah, I think XLM will probably be more concerned of the two, plus 6 points it's not a lot. It's not a lot at all. And that's going to be a bit of an uphill battle, I think, for the guys at Vauxhall there. Ipswich are a good team, aren't they? And they've been notoriously good at their home track in previous seasons. And they obviously, what Lol's just said there, a bit of a blip last week, but I'm guessing that's what Bellevue are going to be sort of trying to build on. They got beat last week. We can do this. We can do the same as Sheffield. So it's still a big challenge for them, and certainly I would say Ipswich are in a better position than Bellevue right now.
Simon, you'll have seen. I know you've had a guest booking. I think you mentioned already with Ipswich this year, so you'll have seen it close quarters, and you commented on it before. The tightness, the team spirit in the Witches camp this season. Is it harder sometimes, Simon, to set out to defend the lead as Ipswich will on Thursday night, or should Ipswich put aside the fact that they're 6 points up and just start from 0-0 because mentally they've got to win on the night?
I think it'd be game, set, match by 12. To be honest, mate. Bellevue don't travel that well to Ipswich. Is Brady going to give it 150% with a world title on the line Saturday, and Bewley got the chance of being world number sort of 3, 4? I don't know. I can't see it happening. And you say about Sheffield, but did Sheffield winning last week change the league table so that Bellevue got Ipswich or Ipswich got Bellevue? I don't know. It's funny old game, Speedway, you know, but I think, you know, Kingy had a bad night Monday. He's been flying around Ipswich this year, especially late. So, yeah, I think it'll Ipswich Leicester final, and I think it'll be close.
Good. Well, listen. Let's touch on the other semi-final, which is Leicester versus Sheffield. So that's the second place versus third. I think I'm correct in saying. You know, Leicester have kind of snuck up a little bit this season. You know, Bellevue, Ipswich, Sheffield have more or less been top 3, I think, most of the season. I think I'm right in saying that. And Leicester have kind of sneaked up a little bit. Leicester have already, of course, have won the Knockout Cup in the Premiership, and they were runners up in the playoffs last year. Stuart Dixon and that Lions squad, you know, they've got a bit of momentum around them, I detect. But what's your thoughts, Simon? I'll stick with you just now. You've already said it, but I want you to justify it now. Why do you think that Leicester will get the better of Sheffield in that semi-final?
I think a lot of the Leicester team travel well to Sheffield. You got Kyle Howarth, ex-Sheffield, now Leicester. Sam Masters, phenomenal gator. Dougie pushed on again this year. Poland, Sweden, England. And you've got Max Frick. I mean, Max Frick's perhaps going to be unemployable next year on a 10-something average. He's the best rider in Britain this year by a long way. So, you know, and you got Drew. Drew can be a bit of an enigma, but Drew, I think, you know, if Stuart's a very good manager, he'll either give him a cuddle or give him a rocket up his butt, and he'll bring the best out of Drew. And yeah, I think Leicester will run them tight at Sheffield for sure. If not, maybe even nick a win, and I think they'll be all right at home. So yeah, I can see Leicester prevailing from that.
Robbo, do you see that second semi-final going the way that Simon's described, or you look at that Sheffield side, right? And there's, you know, they're points packed. They're a very talented side that Sheffield have. In some ways, they've maybe got a few more superstar riders than Leicester have, but as Simon's just mentioned, you know, Leicester have four riders at least who go particularly well around Owlerton. It's a nicely poised, mouth-watering semi-final.
It's going to be a good semi-final, that one, I'd say. It's close, isn't it? The two teams are pretty evenly matched, aren't they? I mean, the Sheffield, like you say, they've got some. You can't rule them out. Leicester can't relax at all, because Sheffield will just jump on them, and they won't sort of give up. You know, they won't ease off at all. So yeah, I think that one, it could be an interesting couple of legs. I'm a bit unsure which way it's going to go, to be honest. I've not really followed I've seen as many meetings out this year as I used to watch, so I'm a bit sort of in the dark on this one. But I do see results. I just look at results and then go and buy results. You know, that's how I'm trying to sort of work at it. But I do see who's in which teams, and yeah, you definitely can't rule Sheffield out at all. You know, yeah, it's whether Sheffield can pull it out the bag at Leicester. That's the thing, because obviously I would say Leicester's probably a harder track to ride than what Sheffield is. So that's going to be where it's all counts really. There, I think that more so than Sheffield.
I'll give you a minute to land on which side you're going to predict are going to get through to the final. Lawrence, you'll have seen Sheffield and Leicester at first hand this season, perhaps more than once. To Simon's point, you know, I think, you know, the form book, the results this season would suggest that Leicester are better at Owlerton than Sheffield happen to be at I'm going to call it Beaumont Park because I can't remember the new name. But what's your thoughts, Lawrence? Leicester versus Sheffield?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think most of you guys have said it all really. But I think I think it's leaning towards Leicester. They've got the firepower to win races at Sheffield. Max Brickers, I mean, you know, he could just go through the card there. You know, I mean, if you keep them, you know, level of scores in a lot of the races and keep it really tight, I think there's no way. I can't see Sheffield winning at Leicester. Really, it's a bit more of a trick track, and they're pretty special around there.
Do you know what? I'm just thinking one rider or two riders that we haven't mentioned out loud that could be, they could yet prove to be a masterstroke by Simon Stead. You know, Nick Morris and Jai Etheridge. You know, maybe Nick Morris is a bit of an unknown quantity around Leicester, but you know, those are two riders who could. They haven't ridden at Leicester very much, if at all, this season, but they could go there and make all the difference in the world for Sheffield.
Yeah, they were making starts at Ipswich last week. They were just out trapping them, you know, for the races they were winning. Obviously, you know, they were just playing, you know, beating them at the starts, and there was, you know, the track wasn't this. His hotter months is a little bit harder to prepare. You know, if it was like when Kingy got on Max a few weeks ago, you know, it was much heavier then. But get him going. You know, they'll be game over. Ipswich will win their hands down, I think. But you know, last week it's probably a blip, and hopefully it was a blip and put a rocket up Ipswich. But you know, that's the only thing that makes me a little bit. I would have said Leicester all day long. Yeah. Really over the 2 meetings. But you know, that's like Robbo said. It's going to be really interesting match now with them two, especially seeing Sheffield's result last week. Really.
Well, listen, let's put our necks on the line. That's why we're having the predictions chat this week. So, Lawrence, I'll stick with you. Just name me the two sides who will feature in this season's Premiership final.
Ipswich and Leicester.
Ipswich, Leicester, Robbo?
Yeah, I'll agree with Lawrence, to be fair.
Simon?
Hat-trick.
Hat-trick. Well, add another one to that. That's my prediction too. I think it'll be Ipswich and Leicester in the final. We'll save the prediction for the final until nearer the time. Let's switch focus then to the Championship. So again, as we have this discussion, actually there's been no semi-final ties ridden in the Championship playoffs. The first tie now comes along, weather permitting at least, at Armadale Stadium this Friday night. Edinburgh versus my beloved Glasgow. And Simon Lambert, news has broken that you're going to be there guesting for my beloved Glasgow. Simon, are you looking forward to it?
Can't wait, mate. Nice long road trip just to see you.
Never mind all. Just you focus on what you need to do on track, Simon. Now, listen, Simon. In all honesty, right, the reason that your phone is probably wrong is because within the last 3 or 4 weeks, you did rather well at Armadale for the Scorpions, right? Remind us.
Well, yeah, I got 14-1 from reserve, but like Lol and Stuart know, you know, every day's a different day in general in sport. But it's kind of turned me around a little bit. I followed it up the next day with 11 at Berwick, and yeah, I just got sponsor bought me a new engine, so we tried that and it worked. So we'll take that one on Friday and just make some starts and just give it a roll.
That's the boy. Listen, Simon, I guess from a personal point of view, right, Scunthorpe obviously aren't going to feature in the playoffs this season. So from a personal perspective, to get the call and be called in to travel even that distance to ride in a playoff semi-final, that's not too bad. Not too bad a way to spend your Friday night, Simon.
Well, I'm going to score some points, man. I'd book a day off work for it, but. Yeah, listen, it makes no odds to me whether it's a playoff or it's this or it's that. At the end of the day, right, I enjoy riding my bike. I got a chance to go earn some money, and I just see every meeting at the minute is a bit of a job interview because there's a lot of speculation about this and that with Speedway next year. So, you know me, I always give it 110%. Always have, always will, and yeah, like I say, 7 hours each way, sort of 350 mile each way. We're not going for a picnic. We're going to. We're going to put a show on, and obviously I'm representing Glasgow, so hopefully they do what they've got to do.
That's what I like to hear, Simon. That's what I like to hear. Robbo, but you and Lawrence, but I'll come to you first, Robbo. You've tasted the old Scottish derbies from. I know you reminisce fondly about your brief time with Edinburgh back in the day, but you know what it's all about, and amplified by the fact that this is the biggest meeting of the season so far for both of these clubs. Glasgow, uncomfortably so for me, are the strong favourites. They finished top of the pile, top of the league. Edinburgh, the fourth placed club, but all of that, Stuart, regardless of the clubs, all of that has to be put to one side because they all start square on Friday night, and the Edinburgh will be very much up for the fight and up to create what they would term to be a bit of an upset.
Yeah, of course they will, especially with it being Glasgow. I mean, the local rivals and have been for a long time, and the rivalry is great between the two clubs, isn't it? And they always want to get one over on each other. So they're going to come out fighting. They're not going to be, they're not going to sit back and sort of let things that Glasgow run away with it. They are going to come out fighting. Believe me, because it's extra meetings for the riders as well. It's not just pride on the line. It's extra meetings, and obviously at this time of year, you want to get as many meetings as you can, just to get that little bit extra sort of cash in to see you through the winter.
Indeed, Lawrence. Conceptually, Edinburgh are, as per programme, they have their 1 to 7, their regular 1 to 7. Glasgow are minus Stan Thompson and Viad Niel, who are both on SGB2 duty in Voyens on Friday night. Which is why Mr. Lambert and Nikolai Clint is the other guest for Glasgow. So from a sort of psychological perspective, which is best, Lawrence, to arrive at a league championship playoff semi-final with your 1 to 7, or not quite your 1 to 7, but with respect to Simon and Nikolai.
If you got there with your 1 to 7, it's fair to say that you got there on there, and obviously the fans usually like to stick to their supporting their own guys and that sort of thing. But obviously it happens in Speedway, doesn't it? And you got to pick and choose your guests wisely. And obviously Simon could be a star man here now with these performances recently. So and Nikolai Clint, crikey, what potential he's got. It looks like I lean towards obviously Glasgow with this one, but the fans get behind us. What Speedway fans are like; they get behind you, whoever really. But no, it should be a good one. A bit more of a tricky track.
It'll be another fascinating nerve wrangling, a Scottish derby occasion. But Simon, listen, I'm putting no extra pressure on Simon other than. I remember what you scored the last time. Never mind, you were at reserve, Simon. That's immaterial. Let's pick up on the other championship semi-final, which brings Pool Pirates and Red Card Bears together. So Pool, of course, the defending champions. The first leg was meant to have been earlier this week. It was rained off. So the first leg, again, weather permitting, falls on Teesside this coming Sunday. Red Card Pool, two good. Simon, I'm coming to you first because you know these teams inside out. But Red Card and Pool, two very capable teams. They both get riders who can do wonderful things home and away. But from again outside looking in, I can't help but favour Pool only because they're likelier to keep the scoreline tight on Sunday and obviously then just defend it the following week. I'm not so sure that Red Car are capable, sadly for them, of giving out a heavy defeat to too many teams this season.
I think a lot depends on young Jody Scott, because I see him at Scunthorpe the other night and he was phenomenal. He was number 2. And now we're in a new month. The averages have changed. Mulford goes back and Scott goes back down to reserve. So, there's no pressure on the kid because there's no iron team. But obviously, no Eric Riss. I think they're going to have Nick Morris as a guest at Pool, which I think's good. I would imagine they'll probably have Jake Allen at home, which I think makes them quite strong. So I'm going to be a bit controversial here, and I'm going to say Red Car are going to do Pool over 2 legs. I think they'll only just win. I think they'll win by 8 or 10 on Sunday, and I think they'll hold it, and they'll make the final with Glasgow.
Interesting, Simon. Interesting. Robbo, you know, you look at the lineups of Pool and Redcar respectively. You add in those guests that Simon has just mentioned, and that's a different dynamic again. Redcar did score 39 points at Wimborne Road earlier in the season, so they're not far off. You know, getting a win there or a draw there and keeping the scoreline even tighter than that 12-point deficit when they met in the league. At some point, Stuart, though, the wheels are going to have to come off. Pool can't just keep winning and winning and winning every year, right? At some point, someone's going to shock them. Glasgow did it in the final a couple of seasons ago. Could this be Redcar's year to pull off what would be a shock in the semi-final?
It would be great to see that, wouldn't it? I mean, certainly. I mean, I've ridden for Redcar. I'm kind of I still like to see Redcar win. It's but yeah, it would be great to see. I'm not against Pool, don't get me wrong, but yeah, they've kind of dominated, haven't they, for the last so many years in both leagues, and but like you say, the wheels have to fall off at some point. You know, it happens in other sports where, you know, a club could dominate for quite a long time, and then all of a sudden it just stops, and other clubs take over. So it will happen at some point, but will this be the year? We'll have to wait and see. There, it's a big challenge for Redcar. Pool, you know, Pool are just good everywhere. They're one of them teams that one of them clubs every year that put a good team together who can win away meetings, and if they don't win, they tend to keep it pretty close, and then, you know, they can turn clubs over at their home track. So it's a very big ask for Redcar, but yeah, we will wait and see. I mean, Pool have got to be favourites, I would say, and yeah, they're going to be relying heavily on the guests with Redcar, because obviously with no Eric Riss. But if with the guests they've got in, then they are two very good guests and very capable riders. So yeah, more than capable of filling Eric's boots and scoring double figures.
Thanks, Stuart. It's fascinating. It's genuinely fascinating, and you know, a bit like the Leicester Sheffield thing. You know, Glasgow Edinburgh, which way will it go? Pool Redcar, which way will it go? And that's the way that the playoffs should be. That's the way that the culmination of lifting silverware and league titles should be. Rob, I'll stick with you just for that prediction. And so, which two clubs make it through ultimately to the championship playoff final?
I was going to go with Glasgow Pool. I think they will. They're the two stronger clubs, stronger teams, and I think they will do it. But it'd be nice to see an upset on one side or the other.
Lawrence, I'm not sure how many championships or how much championship speedway you get to see, but outside looking in, which two clubs might you fancy to get through to the final?
Yeah, I've got to go with that Glasgow Pool. I mean, Pool through the semi, they always seem to, you know, put on a good performances for the big meetings as well. So I think they always seem to pull it off. Hard to get a bet against them. They're the blip maybe once in a while, but no, yeah, I'll go with the same. Glasgow Pool.
Thank you, Lauren. Simon, I know you've made a call already, but I've given you extra time to reconsider. Who's making the final, Simon?
Glasgow Redcar.
Glasgow Redcar. Glasgow with big points banked by Simon Lambert on Friday night. Well, listen, I'm going to go Glasgow Pool. I just think, although I do sense there could well be a shock in one of the semi-finals. I'm hoping it's not the Scottish one, but I'm going to go with the form book. I think Glasgow and Pool have been a cut above the rest, generally speaking, this season, and it would be the rightful final for me. But 360 Speedsters, whether you're a Premiership fan or a Championship fan, what do you think of our summations of the prospects of the teams in the semi-finals? Did we get our predictions correct? Do you agree? Did we not get them correct? Tell us why we might have gone astray with our logic.